Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into something you might not think about much: the global concrete cutting machine market. Sounds niche, right?
It does, but it's surprisingly revealing.
Exactly. We're going to unpack insights from the Global Concrete Cutting Machine Market Report 2025 by Cognitive Market Research. And we're talking specialized gear here, dime wire saws, robots.
Yeah, the kind of stuff essential for big projects, building, infrastructure upgrades, even careful demolition.
Right. So our mission today is pretty straightforward. Give you a shortcut to understanding the trends. We've got sales data 2021, forecasts for 2025, even out to 2033. Plus those CAGRs, growth rates.
Get ready for some numbers that really paint a picture of global
They
development.
really do. It shows where things are being built, rebuilt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
These numbers, seemingly small scale, actually mirror much bigger economic shifts happening worldwide. It's quite fascinating when you look closely.
Okay, let's dive in then. The global market. The report says back in 2021, the whole thing generated, what was it, just over $435 million.
That's the baseline, yeah. $435.811 million to be precise.
So that gives us a scale. Where's it headed? What's the projection?
Well, the growth is pretty significant. It's projected to climb to $544 million by 2025.
Okay.
And then, looking further out to 2033, it's expected to reach almost $848 million, $847.615 million.
Wow. Nearly double the 2021 figure.
Exactly. And this translates to a global compound annual growth rate, this KGR, of 5.7%.
5.7%. Can you quickly remind us what a KGR tells us?
Sure, it basically smooths out the bumps, the year-to-year ups and downs. It gives you the average annual growth rate over a specified period, showing the steady underlying trend. So
Yeah.
5.7% indicates consistent, healthy expansion globally.
Right. So consistent growth in concrete cutting machines. What
Right.
does that signal for the bigger picture, construction and infrastructure globally?
A really strong indicator. That 5.7% points directly to, well, massive and continued investment worldwide. Building new stuff, yes, but also renovating, updating, and even carefully taking down old structures.
So not just new builds.
Not at all. Think about urbanization, especially in emerging
Wow.
economies. Industrial development, too. And just the constant need to maintain or upgrade infrastructure everywhere. Roads, bridges, power plants.
High-speed rail, smart cities.
Precisely. All that requires incredibly precise concrete work. So this market's growth is basically fueling those foundational economic shifts.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Let's zoom in regionally then. Where's the most significant activity? Which parts of the world are driving this growth the most?
Well, the standout region really is Asia Pacific. It was already leading back in 2021 with revenue over $157 million.
$157 million just in Asia Pacific.
Just that region.
Mm.
And it's projected to hit almost $323 million, 322.941 million by 2033.
That's huge growth.
It is. And look at its CAGR, 6.341%. That's the highest regional growth rate globally. It really speaks to the sheer speed and scale of development happening there.
And within Asia Pacific, the report really flags China, doesn't it? What are those numbers?
Oh, absolutely. China's dominant force. Its market was nearly $58 million, $57.739 million in 2021.
Okay.
And it's forecast to surge to almost $128 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of 6.926%. Really impressive.
Almost 7% growth year on year? What's behind that, specifically in China?
It's that constant cycle.
Right.
Rapid modernization means continuous development, massive infrastructure projects, but also demolishing and replacing older structures. It's build, rebuild, expand.
And it's not just China in that region.
No, definitely not.
Hmm.
India also shows really strong potential. Its DAGR is predicted at 6.854%, very high. It suggests a similar dynamic, lots of infrastructure investment, rapid urbanization.
Okay, fascinating. Let's pivot now. What about North America? How does it compare? More mature market, maybe?
It is more mature, but still showing very steady growth. The revenue was just over $125 million in 2021.
Right.
And it's projected to reach over $228 million by 2033. The CAGR there is 5.266%. Solid, consistent.
So a bit below the global average in Asia Pacific, but still growing steadily.
Exactly. The U.S. obviously leads in terms of total dollars, about $95.5 million in 2021, growing to over $171 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of about 5.18%. But interestingly, Canada and Mexico actually have slightly higher projected KGRs.
Yeah.
Canada's at 5.674% and Mexico at 5.379%.
Huh. So maybe catching up a bit, or specific projects driving that?
Could be both. It
But-
certainly signals ongoing infrastructure needs and maybe specific development pushes across the whole continent, not just in the U.S.
Makes sense. Okay, how about Europe? Similar story to North America. Steady growth.
Pretty similar, yes. Europe's market was around $104 million, $103.723 million in 2021.
Okay.
It's projected to hit over $194 million by 2033. The CEGR is 5.528%, so right around the global average, actually. Quite healthy.
Any standouts within Europe?
Well, Germany and the UK are showing strong growth. Germany's CAGR is projected at 5.95%, and the UK is at 5.905%. So quite a bit of activity there, likely modernization and infrastructure work.
Right.
But what's really interesting is the rest of Europe category. It actually has the highest European CEGR at 6.147%.
Higher than Germany or the UK?
Yep. It suggests there are some really dynamic pockets of growth outside those traditionally largest economies. Maybe Eastern Europe or specific countries getting EU funding for big projects. France, Italy, Spain, Russia are also growing. But that rest of Europe figure points to diverse activity.
That is interesting. Okay, let's move south. South America, what's the picture there?
South America shows pretty robust growth, too. It's going from just over $19 million in 2021 to a projected $49 million or so by 2033.
So more than doubling.
Yeah, the CAGR is strong at 5.93%. Indicates significant development happening. Brazil is the largest market share, going from about $6.3 million to nearly $16.7 million.
Okay, Brazil leads in size. Any countries with particularly high growth rates?
Yes, Colombia stands out. Its predicted CAGR is 6.107%. That's a really strong signal of construction and development activity there.
Good to know. All right, finally, let's cover the Middle East and Africa. How do they fit in?
These regions have smaller market shares overall, but still show interesting trends. The Middle East was just over $18 million in 2021, expected to reach over $30 million by 2033.
And the growth rate?
The overall regional TAGR is lower, around 3.996%. But again, there's a nuance. The rest of the Middle East category, so outside the biggest players perhaps, has a really high projected CGR of 6.453%.
Wow, even higher than Asia-Pacific's average.
Exactly. It suggests very concentrated, possibly large-scale projects happening in specific countries within that rest of group, maybe new city developments or major infrastructure pushes.
Fascinating. And Africa?
Africa's market is growing steadily, too, from just under $12 million in 2021 to nearly $23 million by 2033. The CAGR is 4.76%.
Okay.
And within Africa, Nigeria leads the growth forecast with a CAGR of 4.97%. Again, reflecting significant development in that major economy.
Right. So we've gone around the globe, looked at the big picture, the regions, specific countries. Let's try and synthesize this. What are the main takeaways for someone listening, maybe tracking infrastructure or just trying to understand global economic shifts?
I think the clearest takeaway is that Asia-Pacific, really driven by China and India, is undeniably the engine of growth for this specific sector right now. That points to just massive ongoing development.
Right. The highest numbers, highest growth.
Exactly. Then you have North America and Europe as these large, stable, mature markets, still growing consistently, likely focused on maintenance, upgrades, but also steady new construction.
Okay.
And then the Middle East and Africa, while smaller overall markets, show these really interesting pockets of very high growth. It suggests targeted, sometimes huge investment booms happening in specific areas.
So it's not just a niche market, it's like a barometer.
I think that's a great way to put it. It's a barometer for where physical development, building, modernization, where it's really happening intensely around the world. The sustained demand for these machines underlines that constant global need for construction, renovation, and even demolition.
Wow. That really was a deep dive, and honestly, much more revealing than I first expected for concrete cutting machines. From those global numbers down to specific countries like Colombia or Nigeria showing strong growth, it paints a vivid picture.
It really does, and the fact that almost everywhere is seeing growth, even if at different rates, just underscores how fundamental construction and infrastructure are. It's this ongoing, persistent need reflecting economic development and modernization efforts across the board.
Well, thank you for guiding us through those numbers. We hope everyone listening feels like they have a much clearer view of this foundational yet often overlooked industry.
Absolutely. And maybe something to think about. What other seemingly invisible industries, like this one, are quietly driving or reflecting huge global changes? What can their growth patterns tell us about where our built environment, our world, is headed next? Something to mull over.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your source material, dig in, and really pull out the most important bits, those surprising facts you need to know. Today, we're getting into something you might not think about often, but it's absolutely massive, the concrete cutting machine market. And this deep dive, it's custom for you, built from sources provided by Cognitive Market Research. Our goal, basically to give you the inside track, a shortcut to understanding an industry that, well, quietly shapes pretty much everything built around us. I mean, you probably don't spend much time thinking about concrete cutters, but these machines, they're way more integrated into modern life than you might realize. So, okay, let's unpack this. Uh, what's really pushing the concrete cutting machine market forward?
Yeah, it's interesting. The main thing, it connects to something we see happening everywhere. More people moving to cities and just massive infrastructure projects. Think about emerging economies. They're putting huge amounts of money into things like smart cities, big urban developments. And these machines become critical because you need that precision, right? You need to cut concrete for, say, road repairs or installing new utilities without wrecking everything around it, especially in crowded cities.
Right, precision is key there. And it's not just about building shiny new things, is it? I mean, besides the new construction, there's also a lot happening with renovations, remodeling,
Yeah.
especially in places with older buildings, older infrastructure.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge piece of it. Developed regions, particularly. You've got aging infrastructure that needs upgrades, maybe modifying old foundations, cutting new doorways or access points in existing concrete walls. These machines, they're not just for demolition. They're really essential tools for making these kinds of careful changes without damaging the structure's integrity.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So it's really tied into the general growth of the construction industry then,
Yeah.
across the board, residential, commercial, industrial.
Exactly. And with projects having tighter and tighter deadlines now, plus this real focus on getting things exactly right, well, efficient high-performance cutting tools aren't just nice extras anymore. They're pretty much a necessity. They're fundamental to how modern construction actually works.
Okay, so there's a lot of momentum, a clear need, but here's where it gets interesting, right? Because no market grows without hitting a few speed bumps. What are some of the challenges? What's maybe holding things back a little in the concrete cutting machine market?
Well, a really significant factor is just the cost. The upfront cost of the more advanced equipment, and then the ongoing maintenance, too. We're talking about the really sophisticated stuff here, like robotic cutters, machines using diamond blades. They can be incredibly precise, but they're expensive.
Expensive to buy, and I'm guessing expensive to run and maintain, too.
Definitely. It's a major capital investment. And it's not just the machine cost. They often need, highly skilled operators,
Yeah.
which kind of leads into another big challenge.
Ah, okay. So it's not just the tech, it's the people needed to use it.
Precisely. There's a growing, a skill gap in the industry. Finding enough people with the right training and expertise, because handling these machines improperly doesn't just hurt efficiency. It can be really dangerous on a job site. It's a serious safety concern.
That's a really critical point. You own the best machine, but if you don't have the right person operating it.
Yeah.
And for you listening, just think about what that means for big projects, delays, safety issues, maybe even the quality of the final work. It has ripple effects. But okay, despite those hurdles cost, skills innovation is clearly happening. The industry isn't just standing still. It's fascinating how it's adapting.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key trends you're seeing that are really transforming things?
Well, one really major trend is the big shift towards diamond-based cutting, using industrial diamonds in the blades or wires. The benefits are pretty clear. You get much greater precision, cleaner cuts, and the tools tend to last longer. They're almost ideal for high-volume work, like big infrastructure projects, cutting bridge sections, that sort of thing. Less vibration, less damage.
Right, so diamond tech means cleaner, more precise work. And talking about tech, what about automation? I imagine that's creeping in here too.
Oh, definitely. The rise of robotic and remote-controlled machines is another huge trend. Automation brings some obvious advantages. Reducing the risk to human workers is a big one, especially in hazardous situations. Plus, these machines can often operate in places that are hard to reach, or just too dangerous for a person to be in directly. So, yeah, big gains in safety and sometimes efficiency, too.
And I bet environmental concerns are playing a role as well. Construction dust, noise, that's getting more attention these days.
Absolutely. That's becoming increasingly important. Manufacturers are definitely putting more effort into dust control and more eco-friendly designs. You see it in the features, better water cooling systems to suppress dust, vacuum ports built in, even development towards like greener power sources, electric options instead of just diesel. It's partly regulations driving it, but also just a general push for more sustainable practices.
Okay, so we have Tech advancements, automation, eco-focus. But
Yeah.
there's always that underlying economic factor too, isn't there?
Yeah, you can't forget about raw material prices. They fluctuate, and that has a real impact. We're talking specifically about things like industrial diamonds, specialized metals needed for the machines. When those prices go up or down, it directly hits production costs, which, affects the final price of the machines and the overall profitability for the manufacturers. It's a constant pressure.
So bringing all these threads together, the growth drivers, the challenges, the innovations, and what does this all mean for the bigger picture? Where is this market heading?
Well, I think what it really boils down to is balance. The market's evolution, and frankly, which companies do well, it's going to depend on finding the right balance. It's like a stool with three legs. You need the technological advancement, yes, but you also have to manage the operational costs, and you absolutely need that skilled workforce available. If any one of those is seriously out of whack, it makes things difficult. It's really about the whole ecosystem working together.
And for you, our listener, understanding these dynamics, the tech, the cost, the skills, it gives you a much richer perspective, doesn't it? A deeper insight into the infrastructure we interact with every single day. The roads, the buildings, these machines are literally shaping them. We've definitely covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from those big global drivers pushing the concrete cutting machine market forward to the cool tech shifts happening, and also those real-world challenges like cost and skills
Yeah.
that the industry is grappling with.
Yeah, and maybe a final thought to leave you with. The next time you see a construction site, maybe they're repairing a road, putting up a new building, or even just carefully cutting a section of sidewalk, just take a second to think about what's going on behind the scenes, that complex interplay of technology, cost, efficiency, and human skill. These powerful, precise machines are quietly, constantly shaping the world around us, one cut at a time, really.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.